This is the thing I want to know. I don't mean that, because that's a great, the scene.
Yeah.
You and Ben on the bench
Oh yeah, yeah.
after the loss. What were y'all saying to each other, man? Because what I know is y'all two, when it came to what y'all did on that field, man, like that was tied in. It was you and him for a decade. Like, what was that moment for y'all two?
It was unreal. Honestly, I think about it all the time, man. I be sitting there when I see a picture or something or Ben or text me or something. But the craziest thing I try to tell players all the time, I kind of like, even when you have so much success, that failure can happen. And when the snap happened on the first play of the game, I was just like, man, what the hell? Like, I'm sitting there thinking in my head as a player, like, man, how this thing written like this? Like, there ain't no way I'm in this year. Man, they talking about Ben done came back. Like, this is our chance to like finally like go out on this big hoorah, and they kind of like, bam, hit me, boom, first play of the game. I'm like, oh shit, like not Pounce. This ain't the person to do this. You know what I mean? Like, I'm the person that like, man, getting all the players going. You know what I mean? So that hit me. Then we go throughout the game, like we fighting all the way through it, and I'm like, man, how the hell our defense giving up the points like that, man? Our defense got the best players in the league. Like, how all that shit kind of like played out, and I'm just sitting there, and I get to the bench, and all I'm thinking at the end of the game is like my kids in my head. Like, damn. Cause I had text my daughter before that game, and she had just wanted me to like make some of like the school stuff a little bit more. And once that shit kind of like played out like that, I was just like, man, like, hell, I'm still playing football for it. Snap shit happened. The Super Bowl thing ain't gonna happen again. And my oldest, which my two youngest live down here with me, but my oldest lives in Texas. So like whenever that kind of like played out, cause she's 11 now, and I'm like, man, what the hell? Like, I got all this money, all this success, and like my kid like worrying about like me making a damn event or some shit like that. You know what I mean? So, but I think that kind of like it was playing in my mind. And then when Ben like man, Pounds like, man, like we could do this shit again, and you know, like fight back, and you know, the fans will be here next year. And in my mind, I'm like, man, fuck the fans, like shit about me right now. You know what I mean? Like my kids, I'm thinking in my head, and then I'm like thinking too, like shit, man, Mike just had the damn the total hip replacement, and then Mike had came up there to man, I hate talking about this shit because I, mean, I ain't even no emotional person like that, but when I go to talk about my kids, that shit go to fucking me up because man, I got all girls. You know, you get sensitive with them kids. You got the girls.
Cool, bro.
But Mike had the neck surgery, but he ended up coming to the crib, and I'm like, dang, bro, like you gonna come to the crib like your neck all swelled up, like man, I still gotta go out there and play. And I'm like joking around with him a little bit in my head. I'm like, man, they're tripping a little bit, like. But anyway, so I'm like, I'm trying to like encourage him through the thing because he has to go through it, like get a whole another neck surgery after the one he just had, and then he goes right into the hip surgery thing, get a whole hip replacement. So all that shit like playing in my head, like, damn, boy, we some real soldiers. That's why I like try to tell people, like, man, once you as a gladiator and like you get to that point, like, you just gotta accept it at some point. And I'm just like, damn, like, I go back out there, I know I got like 1 year, $9 million left on the contract. They talking about they want to, you know, give me another, you know, extend me and shit. But in my head, I'm just like, man, damn, like, I'm giving all these to these people, which I love because they done blessed me so much, and I ain't taking nothing from that fact because I'm so thankful for everything they did. But I'm taking away from my oldest kid. I see Mike fucked up in my head. I'm like, boy, ain't no fan in the world get me to come back here. Now, if my kids was on board and all the other shit, like, man, hell, I'd have played such shit. They dragging me out the field, but, like, I think that just more than anything kind of, like, played in my head. But, like, just sitting there with him, and when he was saying that stuff, I'm just like, damn, but he a real rider, you know what I mean? Like, I think he had it more played out in his head, like, you know, you finish his career all right, you know, beat some of the number stuff that he had going on. But in my head, too, I'm just like, man, damn, being like, man, let that go be your thing, you know what I mean? Like, I don't even want to take that from you. And you know, that shit just be playing so fast in your head. But yeah, that was like the biggest thing in my head. I'm thinking about, man, my kids, Mike, and then he hit me like, man, Pounce, like, come back because the conversation was real quick, you know what I mean? Because Juju had done walked up. But he like, man, Pounce, we're going to do it in front of the fans next year. But I'm like, yeah, Ben. But like, man, I'm playing this shit in my head like, you talking about playing that shit. I'm talking about like going to the school of dance or doing this type of shit, you know what I mean? But yeah, I honestly, and you know, once you save really well and all that type of stuff that kind of like me and Mike did, and you know, had the success and the contracts that we did, it's kind of like, man, you just doing this stuff just to be, you know, selfish and arrogant. And like, for me, like, bro, like how our dad stepped up in our life, I got to be there for my kids. You know what I mean? So that was like a big, huge thing that played on it.
And Mike, you've had your great success too, 4-time Pro Bowler, I believe, and making the Pro Bowl after the team that let you go, after the Dolphins, when you signed with the Chargers, making the Pro Bowl there in your last season. Definitely a dog wanted Dolphins great. How does it feel for you to hear your younger brother, as a big brother, sacrificing and saying, look, my big brother, this is my love for him and my family. How does it feel for you to hear these things coming from Keith?
Now, I let him make the decision on his own because he seen what I had went through. And I remember the year before I had the neck surgery, like, bro, you got one more for me? Give me one more. I was like, bro, I got you. He seen
Yeah, I forgot about that.
So he seen me go through the hip thing. He was like, you can't do it.
Because, bro, I ain't lying to y'all. Before Mike go on and talk about it, I seen him. We run, but you know us RC, like, man, that's what we do to train to go get it. You know what I mean? And when he was out there running, I'm just like, ain't no way, Mike. Like, but you can't run. Like, you out there galloping, like, man, you gonna go out there and get embarrassed. And like, the boy hip, man, he would go out there and we'll go through like 10 of the gases or something. And then the next day, I promise you, he couldn't walk. And I'm like, man, something's not right. Like, man, we gotta go get this checked out.
He seen it though. I gave him that extra year. That last year, it was tough though, because I knew I had needed the hip replacement to go out there and fight through it. I just couldn't do it no more. And I seen with him, man, he was hurting so bad. I seen how his stance changed. And when he came out that field, because I remember that whole game, he had the bad snap. They thought they were gonna win. Man, I was sitting at the house and he came in. I was like, I knew it. I said, bro, I said, what we gonna do? I didn't even ask him. I said, what we gonna do tonight? We just here with the family. He's like, yeah, we just chilling. We chilling tonight. So I said, okay. We got to the whole off season. I let months go by. He was like, man, bro, that's it. In February, when you get that feeling, all right, it's time to go back to football. When he didn't have that feeling no more, I just knew. I was like, man, we're gonna both retire. Because I couldn't go back out anyway. I just was waiting on him to make an announcement so we could do it together. But I didn't want to be that reason because I didn't want to sit here to this day and be like, oh, he made me retire. Oh, he stopped me. So I let him go that whole time. And when I seen he didn't have that fire left in him, because I was still showing, we were working out, same thing. I'm right there with him. Let's go. Come on, bro. Same shit we always did. When he didn't have that,
I was just holding on to
that's
just
it.
to talk to Mr. Rooney though.
Yeah.
Once I talked to Mr. Rooney, I'm just like, man, I don't want to steal no money from y'all. Like, man, you know how that shit is, bro. You walk away from all that they don't bless somebody like us. Like, man, I felt guilty in my head. So once that kind of happened, I was just like, man, once I talked to Mr. Rooney and then Coach Tomlin, like, I was cool with everything. And Ben was the last one I talked to. And that's why Ben was kind of a little bit mad at me. But I knew Ben was going to try to, like, sit there and, try to encourage me to be with him because, man, hell, when you out there playing with a player like that, it is easy, you know what I mean? But I just didn't want him to make my decision for me, you know what I mean? But once I got past them two people in my life with Mr. Rooney and Coach Tomlin, I was like, man, I'm at ease with that shit. Now, like, man, it's all about the kids and the family. Like,